What's going on YouTube? It's your host Bruce GNT, and for today's video, it's gonna be like an update on the New Orleans terror attack. You know, the suspect SHAMSUD-DIN JABBAR, I believe that's how you say his name, and essentially we're gonna try to delve deep into his motives. You know, there's a few people that spoke about him. I think an old friend, kind of, sorta, and then a younger brother, I believe. I know it's a brother, but I'm not sure if it's younger or older. This first video is pretty much gonna be showing, I guess, his demeanor in 2020, 5 years before this attack. And just based off the onset, what we can see just off this picture right here, we can see that he seems more clean shaven. He looks more put together as opposed to the videos or the pictures that we have been seeing about him, where he just looks disheveled. He looks like he's not really taking care of himself. Like, something happened to kind of spark this. And like I said before, I don't like to throw out, okay, PTSD, especially when we don't know. But we had to take into account that, a lot of veterans, when they're in, they deal with a lot of shit. And then when they get out, they have all these other personal demands that go on. Some of them go through just feeling like they don't really belong. They can't really conform to society. I'm not too sure about his service. I think he was in for like maybe 9 or so years. But, even still, that's a lot to adjust back into. Relationships, family relationships, intimate relationships, all those different things play a part. And I think these next few videos will give us a little bit of insight as to where his mind was at and why he did something so horrific.
Good evening. I'm SHAMSUD-DIN JABBAR, property manager with Blue Meadow Properties and team lead at the Midas Group at Core Realty. I just want to say hello and let you know a little bit about me. So I'm born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and now live in Houston. And I've been here all my life, with the exception of traveling for the military, where I spent 10 years as a human resources specialist and IT specialist, where I learned the meaning of great service and what it means to be responsive and take everything seriously, dotting I's and crossing T's to make sure that things go off without a hitch. So I've taken those skills and applied them to my career as a real estate agent, where I feel like what really sets me apart from other agents is my ability to be able to, one, be a fierce negotiator. So not only do I brilliantly market your property to make sure it gets sold as quickly as possible or gets leased as quickly as possible, but I'm also going to take every ounce of energy and putting it into negotiating for you and for your property to get the best deal that you can possibly get for it. So once we get to the closing table, all the I's are going to be dotted, all the T's are going to be crossed, everything's going to go off without a hitch, and that is my word that I'm giving to you as your real estate agent.
Can you imagine how... Can you just imagine that, this whole event pops off and everything like that, and then you look to see the news and you realize, wow, this is my real estate agent. Like, this is the guy that sold me this house like so many years ago. Like, I wonder what goes through your mind. You're kind of just like, oh shit. But some things I've noticed, like I said before, he looks more clean shaven. He looks like, his demeanor is a lot more docile. Like, he's kind of like someone that you could easily just see and walk past and just be like, okay, yeah, he's a cool guy. Also, too, a ring. I'm not too sure, and I've seen like a few news reports. I never heard anything them mention about him being married or a wife, anything like that. Alternatively, I haven't heard anything about ex-wife, but I think it's more accurate to say that there's a possibility that there's an ex-wife. A lot of military members, whether they're in or they're out, a lot of them suffer through a divorce. Not me, gladly, but I know a lot of military members that have gone through a divorce. That also plays a big role into maybe where his mental state was, and depending on how that went about. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm interested to see if they're going to either bring her up or if she would be interested in even speaking out if he does have a wife and or if he's divorced. But let's jump into his next video. It has, I want to say, an old friend of his.
Joining us now is Chris Poisson. He went to school with the suspect from the New Orleans attack. Chris, thank you for being with us. Just tell us a little bit about your experience with SHAMSUD-DIN. You called him Sham in middle school and high school, is that right?
Right, yeah, SHAMSUD-DIN, his friends called him Sham.
Okay, so you went to middle school and high school with him. When he went off to the Army, you went off to the Air Force, and I know you kind of lost touch, but then you'd gotten back in touch a few years ago on social media. Tell us first what he was like in middle school and high school.
Back then, he was really reserved. He kept to himself. He didn't say too much. He was very smart, very good in school. He wasn't like a troublemaker or anything like that. He was just, he was the model student, really. We met in 8th grade, and then we just happened to move to the same town in 9th grade, went to the same high school. So our friendship just continued on until high school, until he joined the Army. And like you said, I joined the Air Force.
So when you touched base with him a few years back on social media, I think it was 5 or so years ago, and got back in touch with him, what were those exchanges like, and had he changed?
Well, yeah, we had lost touch because whenever we graduated, social media wasn't a thing yet. So whenever Facebook came along, we reconnected. And then we kept in touch for several years, actually, through Facebook, just messaging back and forth, just checking on one another. And then up until the last, few times I had spoke with him, he had become really, enthralled in his faith. And pretty much every conversation we had or post that he was making at that time, in some way, shape, or form, it all, resorted back to his Muslim faith.
Okay, so he talked a lot about Islam. Did you get the sense he was radicalized, or?
So to speak about that a little bit, usually when people get radicalized like that, and I'm no professional, just what I've seen and like the little bit of research I've done when it comes to like looking at fanatics when it comes to religion, because you could become a radical in any religion. It's not just one or the other. In any religion, you could become a radical, and then certain things like this or worse can happen. But I'm interested to see, because usually they say there's a correlation of like traumatic life events, hitting rock bottom and then becoming engrossed with religion. And then from there, people usually take it a step further when they get radicalized and they kind of become enthralled in like such deep beliefs that they act out in certain ways. Like I said before, no one's talking about a wife, so I'm guessing he went through a divorce. Who knows, probably lost his job. It says something in 2015, even though that was a little bit before the 2020 video we just saw. I do know that certain veterans, depending on what's going on in their life, they do struggle to get jobs after their service. So maybe he had money issues. Maybe he just, there's so much that comes into play. Also, I do want to comment on the fact that, not saying that this guy isn't a friend of his, but I would imagine that they got someone a little bit more current, because it seemed like, they weren't really on the greatest of terms to where they can speak freely about certain things to where he would know, okay, his motive, anything like that. It just seems like, okay, they knew each other, reconnected on Facebook, and then that was kind of it, the passing by post that you see, a like, a comment here and everything like that. But let's just see.
I understand you are a Christian and you were talking with him about religion. Were you having, respectful exchanges?
It was very respectful, and it wasn't anything like he was upset or mad at anybody. Every post and every conversation I ever had with him, he was never mad at anything. He never talked about overthrowing the government or being mad at a particular race or religion or anything like that. He was always very respectful and very positive. His message that I got from him after every conversation was that he was very positive. And it's just that what happened yesterday just came by complete surprise. I never would have seen this coming.
Yeah, you were shocked. And we've learned from our reporting that I think since about that time you would have re-engaged with him on social media. He has been suffering financial problems. He has obviously his family, his place in his family has certainly fallen apart. Did you talk to him about any of that?
Yeah, I had a feeling something like that would have happened.
No, we didn't get that deep into it. Whenever we had messaged each other back and forth, it was just more so checking on one another. Because like I said, we met in middle school back in 1996.
Yeah.
And so whenever we did talk, it was just, how are you doing? How are things, on your neck in your neck of the woods, and just, keeping it pretty superficial. We never got into anything really deep, with family issues or anything like that. So I didn't know he had any of that stuff going on, until the news report started coming out after the fact, since yesterday.
So, you were shocked by this, and you also have an interesting perspective because you have a military background. You served in an anti-terrorism unit. He served during this period of time where obviously we see the threats that the U.S. was confronting after 9/11, and then seeing him then say that he is swearing allegiance to ISIS. What do you think of that?
Complete disbelief, utter shock. one of our classmates actually messaged me yesterday morning and asked me if I had seen the news, because that's when they had identified Sham in the attacks. And I told him, I don't believe that. That's probably just false reporting, a mistaken identity. And the more I looked into it, more credible reports started coming in, and it was him. And he never gave any tips or clues to me personally whenever I was speaking with him that he was on the verge of doing something like this. It's just tragic, and I never saw this coming.
What questions do you have about how he made this change and went from the person that you knew to the person who committed this horrible act?
Well, the questions that I have really is just more so from the reports that, you guys have been putting out there since the attacks. I've learned, which while I was on hold, that he's acted alone. I didn't know that was a thing until just recently. And I learned that he had bomb-making materials or bombs inside of his vehicle. And the thing that I don't understand is if he went through if he went through all the trouble to have the bombs made, put them in his vehicle, load them up, and drive to New Orleans, why would he use his vehicle as a weapon and not even attempt to place the bombs or set them off or whatever? It's almost as if he didn't want to use them. I don't know. I'm not in his head, so I can't speak for him. A lot of it just doesn't make sense to me. It's hard to.
That's something I wondered as well, because I know that he rented a truck. I'm not too sure the specific app, but you could rent out people's vehicles, personal vehicles. He rented out a electric truck. I'm not too sure what it was exactly. But yeah, I did hear about that, and even I wondered that, because I was like, okay, if it was full of explosives, why would he not just use it as like a catalyst to ram it into people and then blow it up? And subsequently blow himself up. So that also puzzled me as well. So I'm interested to see. I mean, I'm pretty sure we probably will never know, but
to wrap my head around it.
Yeah, as we understand it at this point, it may have been that police confronted him before he carried out the totality of the attack that he had planned. But again, Chris, there's so much we don't know. You have questions, we have questions. The police are tracking those down. FBI is tracking those down.
So like I said, that's that little bit of information. And what I want to comment on real quick is more so just a personal one. I'm a veteran. I have a lot of veteran friends. And not to say that they would ever do anything like this, or even myself would do anything like this, but I think it's important that we check up on our guys. We check up on the Army calls them battles, Marines. We just say our Marines and everything like that. I think it's important that we check up on them and try to really get involved and figure out, okay, how you doing? What's going on? I'm guilty of that. There's a lot of my boys that I haven't really checked up on. A lot, not even just my boys, just my people that I've served with, or people that I went to high school with. They went to a different branch of service that, I haven't been keeping up with, and just friends in general. So not saying that this is like a good excuse to be like, hey, look, make sure you don't do anything like this. But I think it's important that we just keep up with our people and let them know, hey, look, I'm here for you, especially in 2025, a new year, maybe it's time to adopt some new habits. Yeah, so this is like a good little reminder for me, even though it's a terrible one, considering circumstances, to reach out to my people and just be like, hey, what's going on, man? Like, anything new that's happening, you never know how that reaching out, that hello, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm still here for you. I still love you. We don't know what that can do. But the next video is going to be SHAMSUD-DIN's JABBAR brother.
We now want to go to Joy Addison. She is in Beaumont. And she's in Beaumont because that is where JABBAR actually grew up, and she spoke to one of his brothers, Joy.
Keith, that's right. This is the block where JABBAR grew up. His family is just around the corner. I spoke with his younger brother. The three of him and his two older brothers share a father, and he tells me that JABBAR lived a relatively normal life. The brother that I spoke with, his name is Abdur, and he says that JABBAR attended high school here in Beaumont, a central high school. He was living in Houston at the time of the attack, and he tells me that there was was no red flags leading up to what happened. He does say that the shooter, who went by the nickname of Sham, did express some discontentment with the partying that took places in different areas, like on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. But he says that those activities were not righteous, but he didn't say that he was going to directly do anything in any of the areas where he complained about people partying continuously. He grew up here in Beaumont, like I said, attended Central High School. He was an Army veteran who served in Afghanistan, and his family says that he lived in Houston. He worked in tech. He had 3 kids, and he was twice divorced. The most recent one was just settled last year. Now, his brother did.
Yeah, like I said, and I wasn't even saying that to be like a joke. It's a real thing. A lot of military members, veterans, active, whatever have you, they have like divorces are very prevalent. And, you know, statistically, they say that marriage is has like a 50% chance of working, and then every marriage after your first one, the percentage of it not working goes up by like 10%, so 60%, 70%, which is crazy. But yeah, like it honestly, I'm not saying that this is a reason. What he did was horrific. I can see exactly, you know, the sequence of events. You know, he got out of the military, probably struggled to find, you know, his way in life and figure out what was going on. Had 3 kids, first marriage failed, second marriage recently failed, you know, within the past year. Experiencing money issues, probably not close to his family. Yeah, these are all recipes to create someone that would just get radicalized by something like ISIS and then commit such an atrocity.
Say that divorce did burden the shooter financially because he felt that, according to his faith, he had to pay for his ex-wife home for some time. But overall, he says that their family is just shocked and devastated by what happened because, like I said, he said the shooter showed no red flags.
Our hearts and prayers and thoughts go out to those families, the victims of those families, and
why did that brother come up there with his hair looking a mess like that?
It's a tragedy, and you know, to understand that we're all grieving about this. This wasn't the man I knew. This wasn't the father, the son that I knew, and that also this isn't any representation of Al-Islam or Muslims or the Muslim community.
I also asked Abdur if his family had seen any disturbing videos on social media posted by the shooter. He said that they were made aware of a video by the FBI investigators who came to their house shortly after I spoke with him, but he says the family was not able to see this video themselves in the hours leading up to that attack. In Beaumont, Texas, Joy Addison, KPRC 2 News.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Like, you're gonna let them know about a video, but then you're gonna say how we can't let you see it. I don't know. But yeah, like I was saying, I can just tell, going through that divorce, financial burdens, and then because of his faith, he felt like as a provider, as a man, he had to do X, Y, and Z, all these different stuff. Yeah, I could definitely see how that wore him down. And like I said, he was obviously radicalized because, just like what the brother said as well, this is not a representation of Islam. People of any radicalized faith has a potential to do something like this, you know, especially when you get radicalized to such a point where you feel like you have to take action. Yeah, stuff like that happens. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep as informed as I can about this situation, kind of let you guys know any of the new information that I find out, do like a follow-up video, a little update, and, you know, give you guys information. My previous video, not too long, maybe like 2 days ago, I made it. I'll leave the link in the description right there so you can watch that, so you can get like a full grasp of what's happening. But yeah, this is it for this video. Keeping it short, like I said, just let you know what's going on. And yeah, you know, if you enjoyed it, obviously leave a like, leave a comment, tell me exactly what you're thinking. Tell me if you served and you've gone through like your own little hardships and whatnot. You know, obviously you haven't done anything like this, but you know, like, just talk to me. You know, I know what that's like to get out. I know what it's like to kind of like try to find your way and, you know, deal with things changing, just being different. It'd be nice to have a conversation, and, you know, subscribe for more videos. Peace.